letter F says to cut the seam allowance in half. It should be at least 1/4 of an inch seam allowance left. So what that means is from my stitching line that I just sewed and from the edge of my fabric, I want there to be at least 1/4 of an inch of space left. So I can use my hem gauge to show you how far that should be. So I'm going to measure from the edge of my stitching line over 1/4 of an inch. That's the second notch on the hem gauge. And I'm going to make a little mark right there so I know where that is. I want to make sure that I have at least that much space left after I cut it. But it's about halfway when you're cutting. Okay, so I'm going to take my scissors or my shears and I'm going to cut about half of my seam allowance off of here. Okay, I want to be really careful going around the curves, and I want nice smooth cuts so it'll be easy to sew my zigzag stitch on next. So cutting around the curves, I'm making sure I have at least 1/4 of an inch left. I can still see the marks that I drew. And I'm going to keep cutting all the way up to the top. Now I've trimmed my seam allowance, so there's only 1/4 of an inch left. I'm going to do the same thing to my other one. I can mark to make sure that I'm not cutting more than I should be, but I know that I have to cut about halfway along my seam allowance. So I cut slowly along the curve, and I'm cutting through 2 layers of fabric right now, all the way up to the top. Okay. And next I'll be ready to sew my zigzag.